Make no mistake about it that lately there has been a lot of negative talk and negative attention surrounding airplanes. Not just airplanes, but also airports as well. People going absolutely berserk. But between 2023 and 2024, there was a rise of people seeing something on their flights causing them to panic. And not only that, there has been a lot of mechanical issues involving planes as well. We had a front tire missing off of a plane, a door exploding on a plane, and then we had bolts missing on the airplane's wing. So like I said, make no mistake about it, the airline industry has had nothing but negative press surrounding it. But the biggest mystery involving planes in recent history has to be the MH370. If you're not familiar, Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 disappeared March 8th in 2014. Since this flight's disappearance, there has been a lot of theories as to what could have happened. The most common theory, and what is accepted by the mainstream anyway, is that there was a pilot on board. He was suffering with some kind of breakdown. He wanted to take his own life. He flew the plane for a 6+ hour joyride, and he decided to fly past his home and crash the entire plane. There were 227 passengers and 12 crew members on board MH370 when the plane vanished. The final communication from Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah being, "Good night, Malaysian 370. Now, Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah had no major disciplinary problems, no unusual financial issues, no behavioral problems or mental health issues, but his wife and daughter said he was upset about problems in his marriage. His wife states that he was fine, he was normal, up until only a few weeks before the flight of MH370. This is when she found him distant and difficult to understand, basically stating he just retreated into a shell. The problem here is when it comes to family members speaking out, especially when we have a major conspiracy going on, such as the flight of MH370, where we have some major players involved that we're going to get to later in this story, is that family members can be targeted and they can pretty much be forced to say anything to the media. Now, the reason why Captain Zahari is the prime suspect, because the Royal Malaysian Police seized a home flight simulator from Shah's residence on March 15, 2014. But what has come out is that there are some conflicting reports about this flight simulator. The forensic police report dated May 19, 2014 documented more than 2,700 coordinates received from separate file fragments, and most of them are just default game coordinates. There were also 7 coordinates manually programmed by Zahari as well, to an area south of the Indian Ocean through the Andaman Sea. But here's the thing, forensic report on the simulator also did not find any data that showed the aircraft was performing climb, altitude, or heading maneuvers, nor did they find any data that showed a similar route flown by MH370. So the police forensic report had concluded that there were no unusual activities other than game-related flight simulations. However, for whatever reason, there is conflicting information circulating the media. The Intelligencer reported that it had obtained a confidential document from the Malaysian police investigation into the disappearance of Malaysian Flight 370 that shows the plane's captain, Zahari Ahmad Shah, conducted a simulated flight deep into the remote southern Indian Ocean less than a month before the plane vanished under uncanny similar circumstances. According to that report, the revelation which Malaysia withheld from a lengthy public report on the investigation is the strongest evidence yet that Zahari made off with the plane in a premeditated way of ending his own life. Now, since this report came out, this is the main narrative that the media is running with. That this man, this pilot, had mental issues, he had something going on with his marriage, and these flight logs from this game simulator matches with MH370, and this proves that he took the entire plane down. Captain Shah's sister states that the family believes the flight simulator had not been used for a year before the plane vanished, that the family conducted their own tests in 2014, and there was nothing incriminating in his activities. So the family's research matches the police research. The only odd man out is the FBI, who did their own research and found incriminating activities. Shah's sister continues to state the FBI did their own test. If there was anything, the police would be the first people to know. That's why this story of the pilot, the captain, bringing the entire plane down has been dismissed. So Zahari's family believes that Zahari has been used as a scapegoat for the real truth. But who would want to use Zahari as a scapegoat? Who would want to blame him for bringing the entire plane down? A plane that, by all accounts, is still missing. Well, over time, since the plane's bizarre disappearance, there has been multiple theories. Theories ranging anywhere from UFO and alien activity all the way to government involvement. But that's what I want to talk about in this video, is the government involvement, because I read a very thought-provoking Reddit post that talks about how the United States government just might have the Malaysian Airlines plane. It's not so much that they wanted the plane itself, but the who and what inside the actual plane. Now, when it comes to this thought-provoking Reddit post, all credit goes to additional_AD3796. A lot of people have noticed that the conspiracy side of Reddit has been kind of underwhelming lately because a lot of the posts have been more political. But this particular post, posted 3 days ago, has over 2,000 likes because, like I said, it's very thought-provoking. Now, this post starts with reminding us what took place with the Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 and how the most common narrative is that a pilot ended his own life. But this person also states that this narrative is false and there is no evidence to support it. That's how easy it is for the media to convince people of a lie. The official story is that we don't know what happened to the plane. That is true. We do not have 100% concrete information as to what happened to this plane. There has been a lot of conflicting information, which makes everything worse. But the narrative they want us to believe is that the pilot took this plane down and they would just want to sweep this under the rug. So since big media pushed out their narrative as to what happened to this plane, we are no longer allowed to theorize or talk about what could have happened. So this post continues to state that what really happened is that the United States took this plane and lied about it to the world. And the United States having the plane is actually a very convincing theory. It's one of the bigger theories alongside of this pilot taking the entire plane down. The mainstream media is under complete control by the United States government, and that's why they didn't press on the fact we have satellites scanning the entire globe persistently with a system called SBIRS. Now, here's the thing about SBIRS, and this proves that this person who created this Reddit post just are not talking out of their behind, but they actually did a little bit of research. The SBIRS is a very, very advanced satellite that can pretty much pinpoint any event across the world. Matter of fact, it's so advanced that it has been used outside of military operation. For example, it was used to unravel a sequence of events and send back data that the Russian-made BUK, or the SA-11, shot down the Malaysia Airlines Flight 17, ending the lives of 283 passengers and 15 crew members on July 17, 2014. So given the fact they have this powerful SBIRS system, whether the United States government was involved in the disappearance or not, it's safe to say around 90 to 95% they do have some knowledge as to either what happened or where this plane is. 460th Operation Group Commander at Buckley, California, Colonel Michael Jackson stated of the SBIRS, "This is the art of what we do, that they find things." Officials at the 460th Space Wing also confirmed SBIRS provided technical data to the intelligence community to help solve the mystery of the Malaysian Airlines Flight MH370, which disappeared over the Indian Ocean in March of 2014. They never shared this data or what the SBIRS found, but they had the media run that this pilot was the one to take everybody out and take this plane down. Ever since Operation Mockingbird has been declassified, we have learned that big media is owned and operated by the government. More importantly, the three-letter agency that begins with the letter C. The media is the government's mouthpiece to make us believe anything they want us to believe. There were also United States Thai exercises going on in the Andaman Sea where the plane flew directly past. We also have bases such as Diego Garcia that has the capabilities to track the plane from takeoff to its disappearance. There is no possible way the United States doesn't know exactly what happened to the plane. We know a plane the size of a 777 can't just disappear without being tracked, and can't crash into the ocean without leaving a debris field. Think about how many smaller planes, private planes, crash. They crash and they shatter into millions of pieces, yet we are still able to locate and find these planes. Yet something as big as a 777 can just vanish for years. Every FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request, every FOIA request into the plane to any agency is met with a 2009 Obama-era exemption that withholds the information in the Internet of national defense or foreign policy, including one by O'Reilly Tates in 2014 to the NSA. This would not be the case if there wasn't something to hide. This Reddit user produces an actual FOIA denial letter that was given to O'Reilly Tates. The Reddit user circles the most important part. We have determined that the fact of the existence or non-existence of materials you request is a currently and properly classified matter in accordance with Executive Order 13526, as set forth in subparagraph of Section 14. Thus, your request is denied pursuant to the first exemption of the FOIA, which provides that the FOIA does not apply to matters that are specifically authorized under criteria established by an executive order to be kept secret. Many people swear by FOIA requests to release government secrets. They spend hundreds of dollars and their time to pursue an FOIA request, but they don't realize that an exemption can take place to block their request, and they lose out on all their money. So, like we all want to know, what exactly happened to the plane? Now, the post continues to state that we can say with a high degree of confidence that it was a lithium-ion battery fire related to the 487 pounds on board, 2 pallets of which went unscreened and were in the forward cargo bay near the main equipment center, also known as the electronics bay. 19 witnesses have also corroborated this event, and they have all been discredited to invent a phony narrative of the plane flying into the South Indian Ocean by a pilot who is having marital issues. This includes Mike McKay, who saw the plane on fire when the batteries first ignited, 9 witnesses along the coast who heard loud noises at the exact same time, 8 fishermen who see the plane flying low as the crew battles the fire and the pilots try to keep the passengers alive, and finally Kate T., who an hour later sees the plane glowing orange with no navigation lights, spewing dark smoke. The orange glow is due to a chemical reaction from the Halon 1301 releasing bromine, a halogen gas. Mike McKay would send out an email that was turned into a letter stating, "Gentlemen, I believe I saw the Malaysian Airlines plane come down. The timing is right. I tried to contact the Malaysian and Vietnam officials for several days, but I do not know if the message was ever received." He even gives his coordinates. The Reddit post continues to state that the plane didn't fly for 8 hours to fuel exhaustion, and that's why the official search didn't find one piece of the plane above or below water, any black boxes, and why there was no radar signals or acoustics detections anywhere in the South Indian Ocean. If the plane crashed at 15,000 feet per minute, as Mike Exner of the independent group has claimed, it would have shattered into thousands of pieces. He claims all the pieces of the plane sunk, and that's how that works. Much of the plane would have floated, including all the plastic, luggage, flotation devices, bodies, etc. The debris field would have been miles wide. We would have seen it on satellite the next day. There have been multiple large planes, jumbo planes, that have crashed into the ocean, and we can see debris fields. We can see tons of scattered items just floating, and yet the Malaysian Flight 370, if it indeed crashed into the ocean, is the exception. So you have to make that make sense. If the Malaysian Flight 370 really did crash into the ocean, why is it the only plane not only picked up on radar, no black box found, but there also is no debris field, a large debris field floating into the waters? Now, I have made a video once before where I stated that, well, yes, they did not find this big debris field. They are stating they did find parts of the plane, smaller parts of the plane, just floating in the waters, and they picked up these parts. The only problem is, on these parts of this plane that were found, there is algae, there's life forms. And these life forms, these algae, they're fresh, they're new. And so this algae should be matching the time that this plane crashed into the ocean. But the algae they are finding are about a couple years old, when they found these parts in 2020. So the algae on these parts matches to a year of 2018 as opposed to a year of 2014 when the plane supposedly crashed in the ocean. But this post takes the pieces up a notch by stating, over a year later, a few pieces linked to the plane washed ashore. The media doesn't report that no unique serial numbers were used. The unique serial plate was missing from the Flapion. Instead, they used only part numbers. Only a tiny fraction of the plane is accounted for with all the combined debris found. A couple of pieces have clear scorch burn marks on them. Not reported is that a B777 fire suppression device washed up in the Maldives just a few weeks after the plane disappeared and was ignored despite having visible serial numbers on it. Now, here's what adds more fuel to the fire of conspiracy when it comes to the Flight MH370. On board the flight was 20 Freescale semiconductor scientists on board, far too many for a commercial flight. Freescale was linked to room temperature semiconductor microchip development by a 2005 National Security Agency, the NSA report. They had just developed a microchip so small it could fit in the dimple of a golf ball. The company was linked to a United States Aerospace and Defense. So here's the thing, if this was something as a fire, if this was an explosion, then why cover it up? Why use a story or run with a story that a pilot who had emotional issues took the plane down? There were 19 witnesses around that claimed they heard something or saw something that goes hand in hand with a fire, with an explosion. So, like I said, why cover it up? Well, like this post states, enter the bizarre MH370 videos. We have to be very careful in this territory because a lot of people believe that these videos have already been debunked. This Reddit user actually turned out to be Ashton Forbes. If you don't know who Ashton Forbes is heavily researching these MH370 videos because he believes these are clear as day evidence that this plane was abducted. He states this satellite footage imagery of the plane being abducted cannot be faked. He even takes it up a notch by offering a $150,000 bounty to whoever can prove that this is a hoax, to whoever can prove they made these videos. There have been people to come out and say, well, I was the one that made these videos are fake. And when it was time for them to recreate how they made it, they just can't do it. So like I said, there is a $150,000 bounty to whoever can prove this is a hoax. And so far, nobody has been able to claim this bounty. That is a pretty big gamble. For some people, that is a down payment for a house. So he is 100% sure that these videos are legit. Just like the post states, there is not a lot of reasons to create this elaborate cover-up, which includes multiple countries and all of Western media, unless whatever is being hidden is for national defense purposes. Because, like I said, if this plane indeed did explode, why not just come out and tell people it exploded? So you might be saying this is a cover-up because the Malaysian Airlines might look bad that they have planes that are exploding. Well, they look bad in either way because they are hiring pilots with mental health issues. So if you're gonna go with the narrative that this was a pilot who took this place down, it still does not look good for the airline industry, the Malaysian airline industry, because they have a pilot or possible pilots with health issues, with mental health issues, if that is indeed the narrative that you're going with. So Ashton Forbes' theory suggests that the United States and or one of the defense contractors, such as Lockheed Martin, used advanced technology unknown to the public on the plane. Two perfectly in sync videos dating just days, weeks after the plane went missing corroborated this event. The event we see could be cloaking or annihilation, but both are unlikely due to the smoke trail stopping and the lack of a larger release of energy, respectively. The event seems to be, despite how hard it is to believe, a superluminal event, teleportation of a micro-sized object. We don't really know the technology any government really has. We don't really know what goes on in places like Area 51, among other places. So to say this can't happen, this is impossible, again, we don't know what technology they have. Just think in this past 100 years, this boom of technology, how marvelous just the cell phone is, a piece of technology we use every day. If you stop to think about it, there's no lines, there's no wires. It's like we are mentally talking to people across another part of the world. We don't stop to think just how advanced the iPhone or the Android actually are. because it's something, like I said, we use in our everyday life. But if you were to show your cell phone to somebody, even 50 years ago, it would absolutely blow their mind. They couldn't comprehend this piece of technology. Now, yes, wireless phones have been around for a long time, even going back to the 80s, if not before then. But your cell phone, the actual cell phone you're using now, is so advanced it could possibly beat out most computers. That is just one example of how far we have come in such a short period of time. Ashton continues to state that the MH370 videos are the reason for the cover-up, because this technology is not just about there being a unification theory of quantum mechanics or a general relativity, it's because this technology can be used to create a doomsday weapon that could destroy the entire planet in an instant. So then, why wouldn't China and or Russia get involved? Why wouldn't they blow the whistle on this? Well, first, because no one would believe them. Second, because this is spycraft at the highest level of geopolitics. And third, they did. Russia did put out a report not covered in Western media that the United States put a package on the plane from Alabama where 2 SEALs were mysteriously found dead. Both overdosed at the same time just 2 weeks before the plane went missing. China hacked Malaysia's government the day after the plane went missing and stole crisis meeting minute notes and classified information about the plane. They also released satellite images 5 days after the plane went missing, which seems to show 3 orbs in a triangle formation, which kind of confirms what is shown in the bizarre MH370 video, where it looks like 3 orbs did indeed abduct the entire plane. But it was reported as debris in the South China Sea, but none of this was found. None of these orb-like debris were ever presented to the media as showing to be related to the MH370 flight. It was never mentioned, but in reality was most likely spycraft, a message to the United States government: we know what you did. So with those scientists on board and those semiconductors, make no mistake about it, what was inside the plane would be very important for any government. Well, if your government does indeed have the technology and the perfect cover-up story, all one has to do is put 2 and 2 together. Now, I have created many plane videos myself. I have even created a couple videos when it comes to MH370, but Ashton Forbes definitely has me beat in research and also videos and topics when it comes to MH370. He is absolutely certain that the United States is lying or withholding information that would reveal the true fate of MH370. But this is only if you believe the United States is advanced enough to pull something like this off. Now, on the flip side of this, there are people that believe a more simpler version of the United States having this plane, and that the plane itself was hacked. We do know navigation hacking is very possible, and that this plane was taken to Diego Garcia. The only problem with this theory and the counter to this theory is that Diego Garcia base does not have a hangar. So they're saying, where exactly would they put this plane? But we don't know all the secrets about Diego Garcia, just like we don't know all the secrets about many of the airports around the world, including the infamous Denver airport, which has many secret tunnels underneath this airport. We also do have the fact that family members of the loved ones on board MH370 were receiving phone calls from their loved ones after this plane supposedly had crashed. So with all the theories that are circling around this plane, there are a lot of facts that really don't make sense. So when there are facts that don't make sense, it's very hard to believe the official narrative. So I want to know what you believe. Do you believe this pilot crashed a plane, aliens, UFOs took this plane, or the government has this plane? Please do comment below. In any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.